Do you know what it takes to coordinate a 2-kilometer-long Highline? Neither do I. Let's find out from this guy on this episode of How Not to Highline.
I love it.
Hi, I'm Ryan Jinks, and we are at Asbestos Canada at the Jeffrey Mine, where they used to mine asbestos. But since that's not cool anymore, what else are you gonna do with a big, beautiful hole with water in the bottom of it? So this guy here has coordinated with the city to rig this line. And there's a lot more that goes into it besides pulling over 2 kilometers of webbing. So let's find out how to adult. Tell us, Danny, how long have you been working on this?
So I've been working on this on the Slackfest for, I would say, a year and a half, because this is the second edition of the project. When we first accepted to do a 1.9 kilometer Highline, which was last year, that was in May, like 14 months ago. And
the anchors were just down further.
And the anchors were just down further.
Same anchor on that side.
Same anchor
okay.
on the far side. And ever since, it just has never stopped building relationships and building trust a lot with the city and with all the people around. There's so many local businesses hopping in because it really answers a need for here. Like when the mine was closed here, many people lost their jobs. Actually, this was like a mono-industrial city, so basically almost everybody was working here. If you were not working here, it was an economy that was supported by this single industry. So when it shut down, most people lost their jobs and the city went a bit downhill.
How long ago did they stop mining? 90s?
No, that was in 2012.
Hold on. They've been
2012.
They've been mining this shit just until 2012.
Yes, but since like the 80s, it was underground. So
okay.
I can show you later, Ryan, which might not be on this episode. But they dug a huge tunnel, like 600 feet deep, and then they had a gallery underground, and then they would blast the roof, and then the mineral would fall down inside the underground.
Okay.
And then they would carry it they would carry it underground.
Yeah.
And then this huge tower over there, this is an elevator.
That's what that's for?
That's just an elevator, just to bring
Whoa.
it up.
Whoa!
And then they would break it next to it in this mill, transform, and then ship it to wherever. And then they officially stopped the production of the asbestos in 2012, so that's pretty recent. And
wow.
And right away, they stopped pumping the water. The water started to rise, and they already started to try finding ways to use this place to group,
to help the city.
To help the city, and to create a place that would gather the people in a positive place, a dynamic event, bring young people, and a lot of cities, they need that. A lot of cities, they need young people, dynamic people come, have new ideas, but people that are doers, people that will do it. And this means creating relationships, because these projects cannot happen just once and be like a one-time thing, because that's not what the organizations they want. They want long-lasting relationships.
Yeah.
And so
one event here is not going to help the city.
No,
but an annual event would.
Annual event would, and also permanent infrastructure that would allow people to come and to see this beautiful area, because this is a really beautiful place. The lake is clear.
It's a nice lake.
Forest.
Is this net? This is River's net from Tree Weeds.
Thank you, River.
And is this slack park going to stay here?
This slack park is going to stay here, and for now, this area will still be closed for this year because we still not have a fence,
a real fence.
But it's in the projects for having this being a public area in the future. So we're creating a brand new space, a brand new park on the side of the mine, so that people can come have a walk. Here we have concerts during the Slackfest. And during the rest of the year, they also have concerts in the city, but it used to be in a park in the center of the city. So now the concerts could be here.
this used to be all be trees, right?
This used to be all trees, just like over there.
Okay, so they plowed all of this down so they could build this to be an event location.
Absolutely. So the 1.9 kilometer Highline last year was just a reason to gather the people here and to open up this site. So from the outside, it looks like all we did was put up a 1.9 kilometer Highline, clapped our hands, and got out, you know?
Yeah.
But actually, that's not the case. Like, last year, we also had a public event with live music, a slackline zone.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we did slackline teachings for everybody. We did demos. We told the story. And just our vibe, like if you Highline, you know what the energy is when you go in a Highline gathering. It's a lot of sharing. It's a lot of caring for the people. It's very strong community energy. And since we're here for a couple of days before the actual event, we managed to create this among us. And then when the Slackfest actually starts, people feel that. And people see...
Yeah, that's true, because it feels like a Slack gathering in the last few days we've been here. I keep forgetting like 5,000 people might be coming here. And I mean, we have bleachers behind this camera, and you can see all the work that they've been putting in with the fences. There's a lot more that went into this than just setting up a very complicated Highline rig.
Yes, and so there's a lot of different elements, and the goal with this 2 kilometer Highline, and so is with these 250 meter lines, is to create a public event that would gather the people here, make them be proud of their city, you know, because people want to be proud of where they're from. If you're like here, this city they had bad press for all the time. They always had bad press. Like every time you had asbestos in the newspaper, it was for a bad reason, right?
Yeah, and your city's name is Asbestos.
And your city's name is Asbestos, so it's kind of it's hard to be that on your conscience. It's hard to be from there, basically. So this event is there's a lot of people involved. We are a very big team, and everybody here that came really brought something in.
How big is our team?
Our team, we have about 30 people
30
in the team, coming from United States, from Vancouver, BC, from everywhere in Quebec. We have people from France, from Germany, from Australia.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this is basically a Slackline Montreal team that you bring other people in on.
Yes,
but like
absolutely.
The core group is like Slackline Montreal.
Here. Yeah, the core group is from Quebec and the area, and we have called ourselves Les Funambules Modernes, which is a French way of seeing like the modern walkers, kind of, but more like in the tight walking era. Because
so that's your team name.
Yeah.
I can't say it. It's French.
Yeah.
Say it clearly.
Les Funambules Modernes.
It's like the fundamental modernists. If you were like, you know, said it like me. But that's what I've been tagging in the Instagram stuff. But we, in case you don't know, we have two 55-meter lines behind us, which everything's being held up by basically telephone poles. And the city put all that in for them. But you guys had to decide like where it would go and lay it all out. And
the city did not place these ones. It was professional excavators that put it.
Okay.
And
who pays for this stuff?
So the budget of the Slackfest comes from many different sponsors and investors. So the city is our main finance, like our main sponsor is the city. The county also invests money in here, and we have private sponsors, but I manage the budget for everything of this. And so even the posts we've had with Matt, the lead rigger. Yeah. We had discussions for months on how we would manage to anchor the 2-kilometer Highline out of flat ground, and how we would anchor two 55-meter lines from flat ground. And we explored many different ways. Matt even drew a lot of sketches on AutoCAD for like building metal structures.
Like a scaffold of sorts?
Yeah, like
that's supported down?
Yeah, I quoted for scaffoldings with a plan from an engineer, and it's so new, like highlining is really new, and they don't know what's happening, and they're like, I'd rather just rent it for a construction project, because I don't know you guys, and like, you want to do like a highline with that, like, you know, people are like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's the resistance we get at least a lot in America is insurance in places. I've got gigs turned down because the TV show or the insurance wouldn't. They're like, it's not worth it to us to even put our heads there because it's so weird. But you ended up, why'd you guys decide on these basically as a monopod, single pole, really held down really well?
Yeah, so the reason why we went with the posts is because they are very thin, so they don't really take in all of the landscape. So here, like, it doesn't break all the view.
Okay.
And also it was a very simple way to do it, which turned out more complicated than we thought. But it was more simple than the other ways.
Okay.
We thought.
Because I mean, they're always designed to be under tension with like telephone or like electrical wires and everything.
Absolutely, but just so everybody knows, you should never rig a Highline off of a telephone post.
Yeah.
Unless you made a plan with someone who really knows his shit.
That's a good point.
Right? Okay, so this is not a standard telephone post for just to start. This is the largest telephone post that you can get. This is the class 1. So there's different classes of telephone posts.
Okay.
The ones that we always see, like these ones on the other side, these are class 3 or 4, which are the smaller ones.
Okay. Wow, yeah, they are 30% smaller.
Yeah, so this one is huge. It's 30 inches diameter at the bottom.
Okay.
So it's 2.5 foot diameter at the
Okay.
bottom. It's huge. And 1.5 foot diameter on top, 18 inches.
Oh, it does taper in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And also it's got 4, like, they're different, the ones of the 55 meters.
Okay.
And this one. But they all have 4 anchor stabilizing anchors for them, and also the posts only work in compression because the anchor is actually a deadman anchor behind it.
Yeah, the post doesn't actually hold any force this way. It's literally holding the Highline up. That's how monopods work. And then we have the anchor behind it, which is the concrete blocks you've seen in the rigging video that we've put out on this. And then obviously the counter tension is the Highline. Those are working together, and just so it doesn't like blow sideways is what the 4 suspension thing is. So basically the post is almost strong enough by itself in order to handle the forces that Y2K can even handle. How many kilonewtons before Y2K breaks? 35, 30?
Yeah.
So, but then they stabilized it, the anchor in the back. Obviously don't Highline off of telephone poles. This is a monopod being held by an anchor, counterweighted by a Highline. It's only holding it up.
Yes, it's just like if it was a big A-frame.
Yeah, big A-frame.
It's a big A-frame.
Monopod A-frame.
Monopod A-frame.
So what gave you guys the idea to even set up a slackline over this?
The idea came from my dad. My dad was taking a beer with the owner of the microbrewery on the other side. And Danny, the owner of the brewery, he's from here, and he really wants to see his city shine and grow back from its ashes. And they were talking about a way to use this mine to do something inspiring and positive. And my dad said, "Oh, you know, my son is Highliner, and maybe he can put a Highline in there." And when he called me, and
what year did he like? Obviously, 2 kilometers is a new thing. What was the world record when he even suggested you rig that?
That was the world record was 1 kilometer. It was the 1 kilometer.
Oh yeah, my son can do that.
Yes, and then he's like, we can double the world record because the gap was 2 kilometers.
Because the gap will allow it.
Because the gap will allow it.
Never mind whether or not it's possible.
Yeah, don't worry even if your PR is 40 meters. You know.
Yeah.
And at that point I told my dad that he was crazy, and I was like, it's not possible, and I have other things to do, and
I have other things. Yeah. So you've been working on this. Well, last year was your first year.
Yes, last year was the first year.
Did you take a break between last year and this year?
Between last year was in September, end of September, and September here marks the start of the hurricane season.
Okay.
And last year the line broke because it was a tail of a hurricane coming from the Gulf of Mexico, and so it was like one of the first hurricanes. It was Hurricane Florence. It's letter F, so it's kind of the beginning, and it was a big one. And usually once every like 4 or 5 years, we have a hurricane that goes on the coast, on the East Coast. Doesn't go like in Louisiana.
Okay.
It goes on the East Coast and goes through New York, and then it comes here. and it stays on the side of the ocean. And this doesn't happen very often. And then that time, last year, in September,
Oh my God.
we had this hurricane coming. And so the winds arrived straight from south, which is perpendicular.
It comes this way when the line is this way.
Exactly.
Because normally the line, the wind is that why you guys rigged this
Yes,
the way you
like
did?
now the wind is like this.
Yeah, like we feel a lot of wind. I don't know if you can even hear it in the mic, but the Highline's barely blowing because it's blowing with the Highline.
Absolutely. And so last year when we had this storm because of the hurricane, we decided to have our event earlier in the year, so in July, before the storm season.
Okay.
And also when we have the big big heat waves here,
Yeah.
because when you have a big heat wave, you normally have little wind, because you don't have a system that's changing.
Okay.
You don't have like a cold front and a warm front.
So this is the best weather you would get here.
This is like the best weather we would get.
It's been pretty good. It was windy a little bit,
It's been pretty good.
but not dangerous windy.
So then we had less time. We didn't have a complete year between the two because it was in September and now we're in July. So we had like 9 months. And right after last year, I was completely burnt out. Like when I finished,
Because what do you
Here?
normally do for work?
I'm a market gardener. So I grow vegetables
Okay.
for a living. And the farm I used to work last year, I was working 50 to 60 hours a week, and I was also organizing this event. And
So you had a lot of spare time to Highline.
I had absolutely zero time to Highline, and so that was
Hashtag not highlining.
so it was very, very heartbreaking for me during when I was organizing this, as like I had every time I knew people that were going highlining, I couldn't go because I had to work on this.
Oh man.
And if I didn't work on this, this would not happen. And then when it would happen, I would not have highline to practice myself to actually highline on the 2 kilometer highline, right?
You're out of practice.
So when it was my turn last year, like it was the first time where I put my phone on airplane mode just before I went on the line, and then I managed to cross it anyways, with a couple of falls. And then people after, and even today, people always ask me, "Did you send it?" Because that's what people want to know, you know. But fuck sending, like
Fuck
Ryan
sending.
always
Fuck
says.
sending.
Fuck sending. But then like
It just don't need rescuing is really the goal.
yeah, don't need rescuing. But then I didn't send it, and I don't think it's really important, because for me my objective was just it was success for me when the line was ready to walk.
Yeah, I
Then
could see a relief.
I had dodge.
I could
I hadn't made my job.
I could see a relief on his face when the line was up and it was done. Before he even walked it, I saw that relief.
Yeah, so then my job is done. Then I don't need to send it like other people
And then-
will do.
Yeah,
you know?
and then I could feel in the group that we actually have a relief now that Mia sent it. So like the project feels complete. Somebody sent it. It's been rigged. Now we have 5,000 people coming.
and we're just gonna have fun and host them and
Yeah.
be crazy,
And
be
the
monkeys.
energy's
on the lines.
already here. We're already got that Slackfest and energy that we get to share with a bunch of people that may have never seen slacklining before. So,
And now we plan to do it for a 3rd year next year, but around the same dates. So starting now, we'll have a complete year of planning.
and so much
work already
so much
done.
already ironed out.
Oh,
Like
oof.
like these posts stay,
Yeah.
and so half the work. It just seems like half the work.
Yes, for next year is going to be much more easy because relationship are starting to be built up. I'm really focusing my energy on the sponsors, so really catching up with them.
It's hard, yeah, and it's hard to get sponsors at first, especially when an idea has never been done per se. But now that you have successfully done it twice, world records have happened, people know it's here. I'm sure it's a lot easier to get sponsors to get on board.
Absolutely, and
Which is funny because now you need less of them.
I think
Sort
we,
of like you still need the lift, you still need a lot of stuff, but like you already have the webbing now and the Slack machine,
Yeah.
a little tweak. Like it's oh my god, if you're ever like motivated to do things like this, the first year or two shouldn't judge whether or not you should continue. Like now you know so many people. You
Mhm.
obviously have a team that's trained
Yeah.
in this. So like if you wanted to repeat this somewhere else,
Yeah, just call me.
just call them. It's just so much easier to repeat it. It's like starting a business.
Absolutely, and we are having processes. We have a large Google Drive where everything is classified in different sections regarding different responsibilities. We have our archives from last year's, which we can always go back to when we need, and we're building on this. And now that it's happening at the moment, we are also documenting what we have here, and like because we've made lots of lists of things we thought we need, and in the end it just stays in the trailer and it's not needed. Or same for the kitchen, like we bought way more food, we bought way too much food, for instance. We're not gonna eat all of that. And then there's
always food when I go in there. It's great.
It's all right. There's always food. It's abundance.
It's hard to have a support team or support for 30 people. You gotta house us and feed us and have shitters and showers and infrastructure for 30 people to be here for a week. That to me is like a huge part of this.
Absolutely. Last year we did not have power. We did not have running water.
Yeah, the city installed power for them.
Absolutely.
On this side of the road, so we have power.
We have power. We have a sanitary block with toilets. We have like
this all used to be trees, and they plowed all this away. So the city is just, and this slack park is going to stay here. Not the Highlines; those only get rigged probably during this event. Yeah, and I'm sure they'll do even more next year.
Absolutely, and all this site here was plowed by one of our sponsors, Englobe, which are the people that are actually working all behind with the leftovers of the mining.
They're dismantling the stuff?
Yes, and the mining residues.
Okay.
And they are their job is to put it green.
Yeah.
So they are putting a layer of thin layer of compost, and they are seeding.
I just read on Slack chat censored. It was funny, but like no postcard ever said I've been to Asbestos. But it's actually surprisingly beautiful. Nobody actually really swims in the lake down there, so the water's really blue, and there's a lot of trees on the sides here, and a lot of birds of prey are always flying, waiting for a slackliner to fall. But it's actually a really pretty location, and it sounds like they're getting rid of all the infrastructure they don't need anymore.
Absolutely, and here the plan is, now it's pretty rugged, the terrain, because we had a lot of machinery coming, but the goal in the end is that it would be leveled and flattened, and here it'd be green. So we have sand for the moment because it was kind of a temporary solution, so we could have a slack park. It's easy to have sand being dropped here, but Englobe, the company, they want to help us to have this place being more like a park with grass and trees. They can plant trees in here. They have tree species that grow very well in here, and there's not much rock. There's actually soil under it. There's only like 6 inches of rock.
Okay.
And then you got the soil right under.
Wow.
So it's not trees can grow here. But that's for sure, and this is when
that's why yesterday at Highline, I was like, I need a Highline.
Yes.
Because if I'm just holding the camera talking about it, I'm just like it's not sustainable for me.
Yeah, you need to find a balance, and this is where surrounding yourself with the right people that can help you.
Yep.
And that everybody wins, right?
Yeah, I use a team now for not just editing, but also for the rigging. Matt McMillan has stayed at my house multiple times now, and him installing and Lorenzo is like, I'll go rig stuff. Now I can leave halfway through if I have to go adult and work, and leave people to like de-rig or set up, because I like to give out my gear freely. But it's changed my life having people help me, not just highlining, but behind the scenes of how not to highline. So teams obviously has a strong team this year. How many people this year were here last year? Half? Because it's your core group from Montreal and the surrounding areas.
I'd say like 2/3.
2/3 is
the same.
Same group.
Yes, and also this place is very different from. This is not a Highline gathering like others, like GGBY for instance.
It's not open invite.
It's not open invite, and it's not because I don't want my friends to be here. I love you all, even if you are not present. It is just because we are putting up a festival together, and managing, like we are 30 people is an amount of people that I judge is manageable as a team, where you can really understand each other's places, and that nobody
Yeah.
steps on each other's feet. Everybody, there's work for everybody. It's not like everybody feels useless because there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
And also we have to feed all these people, organize for everybody.
On my projects, I feel the burden of every single person that comes, and that's why like everybody has to contribute on a project I go on, because everybody costs something in either time or mental energy or the 1,000 messages I have. To have more than 30 would definitely not be efficient.
It is a lot of work to manage 30 people. Like every single person that came here, first of all, I know them personally and I really appreciate them. I know they're leaders, positive leaders. They are team players. It's really important for me to be a team player here. I don't want any single solo people here that have a big head like that. And like, I don't care if you are the best highliner in the world.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. If you are not a team player, you are not part of a team. And this is what we're creating here, a team.
Yeah, and 30 people who work really hard, and half of them for 6 months, want a Highline. And we have meetings every night about how long people are taking, how much time they're pushing 13 hours a day. People are waking up early. Somebody has to go sit on side B. You have to have people on both sides. It's a commitment to allow people to be on the line. And more than 30 people, like I'm not even really highlining much. I don't feel like I could get across, so I just kind of like do a sunset walk when I can, because there's only so much line time, just like any highline.
Absolutely, and it's really hard to like the objective here for the 2 kilometer highline would be that every person in the team gets its full intention fulfilled. So whether it's to go 300 meters and come back, or it's a full cross, you know,
everybody basically gets like a 2-hour slot of walking, but there's a 3-hour window because there's transition times. They just spent 30 minutes retensioning the line. So at a 3-hour slot, you in 13 hours, you know, it only allows what, 4 people? But yesterday we got 7 on the line, plus a few stragglers at the sunset. So we've made really good time, but you can still only put so many people on a line.
Yes, and then everybody. It's really important for everybody wants to go on this line, and this line is like a temporary piece of art. Like it only stays for so short, and
there's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. And so on my side of things, it's really hard to manage everybody's intention, and I really needed it to be fair and also very clear how we would have people on the line.
Yeah, we had a few people like people who helped the most, or like he got to go first because he's been his whole life is this. But at some point it just becomes lottery, and the risk with that is right now the weather's great, but it could be really hot or really windy, potentially killing the chance of you sending a line that maybe one of these people could very easily do. But you only get one try because there's only so much time.
Yes, but also this brings back in my mind the fact that sending or the world record or all these things, to me this is not the most important thing. And even if like my intention, even if I would like to walk without falling on such a line, even if like a lot of people here would want, I kind of want to break this thing of having like it's a must, like, oh, like this is the objective. Like the objective here is the mission of the Slackfest is not to have like 30 people sending this line. This is not the objective. The objective here is to have the people, the citizens, reconnect with their own history, and to have them gather together here and to have a nice event for all of them. So this is the mission, and the Highline, the 2 kilometer Highline is a part of it, and so this is what it is.
The world record gets pushed. People are kind of tired of world records. This is actually a legitimate one. But there's also a kind of a funny part because like last year was 1.9, kilometers. They moved the anchor not just for a world record, but it actually makes more sense to have it here. At some point, it's not going to be a world record. It's just going to be
A 2-kilometer Highline.
2-kilometer long Highline. So I think more for promotional sake and sponsors' sake, it's kind of nice to push out a world record, because it is. I mean, we should acknowledge that. Mia literally has the longest world record walk, anchor to anchor right now. So, but yeah, that's not the focus. For us, we're not celebrating at night about this is a world record. No, we're celebrating at night like that Mia got past her crux of the wind throwing her off, and like other people crossed that didn't think they could.
Yes, and we are celebrating for every single person that goes on the line. So it's not because it's a 2-kilometer Highline that it's different than any other Highline. Like
people were stoked for me because I came off of this line after 150 meters, and I was so stoked that people were like just cheering for me because I don't know, it looked hard, and I got to walk a big section of it. Big section of it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the spirit of the sport, and this is also what I want to share with the people coming here, and they don't know our practice. They think everything is a competition. They think like we are in competition with each other.
I gotta tell a funny story. So these two 55-meter lines, right? For the audience, we're gonna have a trick line competition. And last night we're trying to put together like who wants to be a part of the competition. Remember, we have like the 30 best Highliners in the world here, okay? And everybody's like, no, there's no like prize, and even if there is, like I don't know if anybody that cares that much. It's like everybody here is the best in the world, and everybody's like, I don't know, maybe we'll go play. And it's like, well, then he's like, we need to entertain the audience. We need it to look like a competition, but none of us are here to compete with each other. We just all want to have fun and slackline, and now we can put on a good show for people. Because we want to entertain, we want to make it exciting. We're all performers at one level or another.
Absolutely, but there's going to be judges, and there's going to be an animator.
Yeah, it's going to be a full-fledged competition.
It's going to be a competition, and
it was just funny that like we're not competing with each other here. That was like the coolest part for me. Like
yes, and the goal is to
and it's the biggest names are here,
to enjoy ourselves and to share this practice with the public, and when there's something. People understand when it's a competition. People, if it's just like, okay, we're going to show you something, they're like, why would you? Because people need to relate to things they know. And so people know competitions.
Yeah, competition's not bad. It's just funny, like, we just don't have a real competitive spirit amongst ourselves at night.
Yeah.
Like, who's the best? Mia's like the most humble person in the world.
Yeah.
She has the world's record for the most humble person.
She needs that title.
So, it's just kind of fun to be like, for me, like, Julian's here. Julian was the first person to slide a leash ring over to me and say, hey, you want to try highlining? Like, people have been around a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, like, on the Los Angeles Fire. Like,
wow.
I tried a few years ago,
awesome.
and I was like, well, I can't do this. And then I went up to the Los Angeles Fire. So, like, OG as fuck people, right? The best people who make a living doing this, right? And yeah, it's like a really nice spirit. We're not in competition with each other on a personal level. I mean, we'll put one on for people, but that was just a really neat thing for me to see yesterday. Yeah, everybody just wants to have dinner together.
Yeah,
and hug and massage and hang out like slackliners do.
And I think that this energy that we are bringing and this energy we have amongst each other, and every place I've been highlining in the world I've been, I've always felt the same vibe, same energy.
Yeah.
It's really funny like how it travels, and I feel like most people that actually highline have this kind of this same sense of community, of trust between each other, because of course you need to trust the people with whom you highline, because they will rig probably the anchors that will hold on your life on the other side. This creates friendship very fast and very strong friendships.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they don't have that, like in their outside lives. People that might not highline, and people get really they feel touched when they see this spirit.
See how connected we are. The pressure I feel other people are feeling is internal pressure they put on themselves about wanting to send or cross, and it's a fight, an internal fight. There's no external pressure from anybody here to be like, oh man, I hope you send. Like, I need you to send. Like, nobody's feeling that. So yeah, that's why I've devoted so many years to highlining. It's, you know, cool to walk on ropes, you know, but even that gets boring after a while. It's definitely the people that keeps me sticking around. You know, I love nerding out on shit, but really, if the people weren't cool, I probably wouldn't do it. So, but same with relationships outside, the sponsors, the city, all of that. It's nice to be able to share that vibe with everybody. Any project that goes on like this, the GGBY stuff that takes a year of planning, is all about relationships with the BLM, all about relationships with asbestos. So if you want to put on a project like this, or if you don't want to put on a project like this, call him.
Or call him.
No, he loves doing this. And if he can also give you tips if you want to try it in your own town, your own country, to try to build relationships with cities and sponsors, because you have to have support in order to do something this big. I can't do something this big in Yosemite because, well, I feel like Yosemite hates us. So it would be good if I tried to massage that relationship a little bit if I want to do something bigger there. And that's what it takes. It doesn't just take a lot of webbing. So, but it does seem like a pain in the ass to spend a year making relationships so you can walk one time across the Highline.
But
Therefore you shouldn't Highline.
Therefore you shouldn't Highline.
Hey, thanks for watching, but don't be an idiot and rig off telephone poles with, in general, over gaps that are 2 kilometers long without, you know, running it by a few people. Make sure you go with somebody who knows what they're doing the first time you rig a 2 kilometer.